Howdy ho, neighborinos. That's really dumb. Sup? No. They say the camera adds 10 pounds, more like 50. Hi, folks. My name's Travis. People call me Teabag. Alright, so one of these days I'll figure out an introduction. But until then, this is what we're doing. We're going to be working on... Alright, we got Big Ugly here. Looking at a 2005 Chevrolet 3500 Duramax, or I'm sorry, GMC Sierra. Same thing. Everything's the same. Anyways, we have a customer complaint of coolant blowing out of the coolant reservoir. And as you can see here, you see a little bit of black staining on the coolant reservoir. Also, when you drive down the road, get on it a little bit, give it the beans. Or if you're towing a trailer, you're gonna see coming out of this hose, which ends up peeing right down there. Focus. Okay, don't focus. Sort of. Oh, you saw it drip. Anyway, you're gonna see some coolant blowing out of there. Tall tale sign that this truck has a head gasket issue. Another big area to look for. Obviously, you can see that the fender liner has been removed. I'm sorry, I would show you the steps and stuff, but I didn't pull it. It was already off. So, coolant staining back here. Coolant staining on the fender liner in this back area as it runs off, okay? So if you see some wetness coming out, that means that your reservoir is purging coolant. You can see here that the coolant reservoir cap is rated for 15 psi. Okay, so if you increase past that point, we're going to push some coolant out. So obviously, head gasket issues is going to cause that. It's a pretty common deal with these Duramaxes. This truck does have a programmer on it, so when you turn it up, the engine's not built to take that, and you stretch out the head bolts. So yeah, under boost, head bolt stretch. Under power, when you're towing, when you're really on it, when you're trying to beat that Honda Civic problem. Okay, we blow coolant out, low coolant light comes on. Big tall tail sign like I showed you guys, the coolant reservoir, the soot inside. Tall tail sign that combustion somehow is getting into the cooling system. Possibility an EGR cooler may be popped. Definitely worth the check. We checked this one out. Everything's good there. We have a head gasket issue, stretched bolts most likely. We're going to tear into it. We've decided in this video we're going to go ahead and pull the cab. This is going to be the first time that I've ever done this. Done a lot of 6 liters, done a lot of 6.4s, but haven't done one of these. It's going to be the first time. But I've heard it makes things a lot easier. You got a lot more room. Holds true for those trucks. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. So we're going to pull this one. Truck's a truck. We'll figure it out. I'm not going to give you the play-by-play on every single bolt. Whatever wrench you need, if you need to use the number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, Torx bit here, that's not going to happen. If you don't know how to use basic sets of hand tools, this is probably not a job that you want to be performing. I will, however, be giving you the big reminders. Hey, look here. Hey, you might want to take this off, because if you don't, something's going to break. That kind of stuff. I'll point out all the parts that are taken off. I'm just not going to hold the camera and show you nobody wants to see that. Okay. I'm going to point out some basic beginning steps here. You don't need to pull all this stuff off, probably. I don't know yet. We'll find out. This truck was already like this when it was brought to me. So thank you very much, Mr. Customer. You saw that the other fender liner was pulled out. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. Pretty simple. You got mostly just pop clips. Those cool panel poppers. Snap-on makes a good one. Check that one out. A few little screws and stuff here and there, but we'll get that out of the way. That way we can access the charge air piping, so we can see and get all that stuff off. Radiator hoses, obviously. Step number 1 in every service manual, disconnect the negative battery cables. I never do that, but don't tell anybody. yeah, you need to get the batteries disconnected, get them out of the way, just move them. It's going to be probably easier. Get that stuff out. I'm going to go ahead and pull the fan shroud out. Pretty simple deal. Some 10mm bolts up here. This is the TCM cover here, so you can get that, move it out of the way. Probably disconnect it and pull it out of the truck. Get that out. We'll end up taking the fan flashlight. We'll end up using the handy dandy cool pneumatic fan tool to get the fan off, get the fan shroud up and out of the way. That's kind of our starting point, just to get access and get eyes on everything. You guys watching this video, if you've ever pulled a cab on a vehicle before, a pickup truck, maybe a 6-liter Power Stroke, because those head gaskets are just perfect. Nothing ever happens to those. If you pull those cabs off before, or a 6.4 Power Stroke, or even a Dodge, it's all kind of the same similar stuff. You need to pay attention to all the stuff that's going from the body to the engine, or the body to the frame. Since the frame and the engine are going to be staying down on the ground, you're going to pick the body up and off. Simple stuff: charge air pipes, coolant hoses, refrigerant, AC lines, steering shaft, that kind of stuff. Pay attention to that, get that all out of the way. Any harnesses, get stuff disconnected. Basic. Obviously, step number one is going to be draining the coolant out of this pickup, so we can start taking the coolant hoses and stuff out. If you've been test driving the truck, it's a good idea. These coolant hoses are probably going to be pretty hard because it does have a head gasket. It does have a head gasket leak. So you may want to take this cap off, relieve that pressure, then put the cap back on. And I will show you that, and I'll show you the reason why here in just a minute. Go ahead, relieve our pressure here. Oh, buttocks. Careful with that. Don't take that off too quick there. That just kind of popped and just went everywhere. So nice and easy, folks. Let's take that off. A little more pressure in there than I anticipated, and it just kind of popped out of nowhere. So once we get that off and we get the coolant system purged, get all that pressure out, we can come down here, make sure you got your coolant bucket ready. This truck does hold quite a bit of coolant, probably in the 4 to 5 gallon range. You're going to want to go ahead and pull the coolant drain petcock if it has one. If not, you're going to have to pull, focus, the lower radiator hose. This truck does actually have a coolant drain on the radiator. You can see it right there, right there. See it right there. You're going to go ahead and twist that off. And as that starts to drain, the reason you leave the reservoir cap on is you're going to put the rest of the system in somewhat of a vacuum. If you take that plug out without leaving the reservoir cap on, you thought I made a mess now. Just wait and see what happens. Okay, so these trucks don't have the nice, cool little drain hole on the bottom that you can stick a hose on. You just pull the plug out, and here comes your coolant. So what I like to do is, you can see here, the plug is in there. It is loose, it's backed out most of the way, but we're letting some of that coolant come out. And right now we're actually creating a vacuum by releasing coolant with a sealed cooling system. Okay, so you can see there, as it starts to slow down, we're good. Now you can go ahead, take it out a little bit more, easy with it, a little more of a vacuum, and then you can go ahead and pull it out, okay? And this is how it's gonna drain. The plug will just come out, okay? When it's done draining, go ahead and put this back in so you don't lose it. Kind of important. Pulling this fan shroud and the fan out. The fan shroud is a 2-piece. So if you look down on the sides here, you will see, and I took all the 10s out of the top, 10mm bolts, went ahead and unplugged the TCM, got it out of the way. But they have these little push pin clips on both sides, which can be a big pain in the butt. If you can see those, especially on this side, because it's kind of far down there. If you go ahead and take the air box out, it gives you easier access to those. So we'll go ahead and do that now. This is that snap-on panel popper trim tool I was talking about. The tool number is A177A. Made in the USA. For some reason, the geometry of this thing, it's short. It's got just the right bend in it. I don't know why, but I've been doing this for We're going on 15, 16 years now. This is the best one I've ever found. So when you get access to these little clips, what you're gonna do, and you can use a pair of wire cutters, that kind of sometimes helps a little bit, or some angled needle nose pliers. Hook that center section, pull up. Hard to do this while holding the camera. Okay. And you'll see what kind of clips those are. So you pull the center section up and out. That releases these tabs and lets the clip come out. Like I said, there's 4 of those on this upper fan shroud, and that shroud will come out of the truck.